Hello, this is a short video for teachers that will explain to you the basics of Troubadour. For this demonstration, Troubadour is in French, but it will work equally well in English. First, you can go to nanamonks.com to connect. Note that this is the same address as for students. Here you enter your email and your password. Once connected, we can choose our group. Here we've got 2, and the product that we'll access. For today, we're looking at Troubadour. On this page we see the students' work and the challenges that I've created. Let's start by creating a new challenge. Here we're able to choose between various categories of objects and characters. For example, if I choose superheroes, then I will have access to the superheroes, natural disasters to save people from, and a residential neighbourhood in which to save people. Then I can choose one or more category. Today, I'm going to go with urban. Next, we're presented with the floors, backgrounds, and foregrounds that will be available to students. This can help students get ideas for their challenges. Now we can choose how many parts the work will be composed of. For a very simple assignment, it could just be one part. But for an assignment that aims to teach narrative structure, you might choose 3 or maybe 5 parts. In this example, we'll just go with 1 part. Now I'll enter the title for the challenge, a description, and instructions for the students. And voila! Like magic, it all comes together. On the next screen, we'll see a summary of the challenge. Once ready, we can assign it to 1 or more groups. Once it's assigned to a group, it'll be activated. An activated challenge means that the students will be able to participate in it right away. And that's it! Now all I have to do is tell my students to go and do the challenge. In Troubadour, students complete challenges by creating stories using small scenes. Today we'll correct the giant robot challenge. We'll head to correct work and see that the student Skippy the Squirrel has submitted their work for correction. Now we'll click here to correct the work. Here we see the instructions that I had given. And we head down, and in fact I've already corrected this challenge. You can see that I've put this word in red. We can use the brushes, for example purple, and everything we highlight will become the colour shown. We can then put it back to black. We can also take a brush, in this case the blue one, and write directly. Is this how we spell chicken? We can leave comments by clicking here. One important thing is that for each text, we can say that they're good and mark them with a heart, or, if they need work, mark them as to improve. The orange texts, the one marked to improve, will have to be modified by the student. For this text that doesn't have any mistakes, we'll continue. This text here says, "We want chicken." It works. For this text, I'll give it a heart because I think it's funny that the robot talks like that. You know what? I'll also put a comment. This is excellent. The student will be able to see this later. Here the student has made an error. I'll demonstrate how to correctly phrase the sentence, but I won't ask them to correct it themselves. Now we've just finished the corrections for the student. I'll leave a general comment that the student will be able to see when they go back to their work. We can ask the students to go and work on the text that we marked in orange, or we can mark the work as completed. When we're completing the work, the students will see the corrections, but they won't be able to modify them. There is also a small link to allow the student to modify everything, and that allows you to give the work back to the student, for example, if they submitted it by mistake. If we do this, they can modify everything, even if we've already added comments or corrections. They will be able to be written over. In our case, let's just choose the student must rework. This was just a quick summary of how to create and correct challenges. Thank you very much.